Jazz Notes Podcast. I'm Ben Anderson.
I'm Chandler Holt.
Sorry for missing last week, but we are recording again today. It is Monday, September 8th. And Chandler, as we were saying, we're only a few weeks away from the season really starting up again. We are not that far away from being back into training camp and media day for the Jazz.
Yeah, absolutely. And one quick note at the start of the show, I want to say last episode, 2 weeks ago, was our 100th episode.
Oh, was it?
Of me and you doing Jazz Notes. 100 episodes, about 2 years doing this. I don't want to name all the regulars. You know who you are. But thanks to everybody who tunes in every week.
I believe media day is 3 weeks from today.
Okay.
Exactly, 21 days. It'll be on the 29th. Some teams that are playing overseas in their non-conference, or I'm stuck in college football, in their preseason games, they'll play in like Dubai or wherever, China. They will start on the 23rd, so those are 2 weeks away from tomorrow. But the Jazz, I think, are going to be on the 29th. So, yeah, 3 weeks from today. It's crazy. It's coming up really, really quickly.
Yeah.
And it always does. The season comes fast, and then it lasts a long time. So excited to get back into it another year. And we'll have some different storylines this year, I think, for the Jazz, because there's been as much turnover as there is, and there just won't kind of be some of the weird stickiness with John Collins and Colin Sexton. Just give you a lot of young guys and Lauri Markkanen. So we can start there.
Yes.
With Lauri as we get to our news and notes. We'll wrap up the podcast, as always, with our mailbag. You can find us on Twitter at Ben's Hoops, see Holt Sports, same with Blue Sky, and read us at KSLSports.com. But yeah, what's the news since we've last talked?
Lauri Markkanen and Finland have been on a crazy run in EuroBasket. The tournament started like a week ago, somewhere around there. And I believe a few days ago, Markkanen and Finland played Nikola Jokic in Serbia, and Serbia were the overwhelming favorites in that game. I believe Jokic finished with over 30 points, but Markkanen finishes with 29 of his own, and they beat Serbia 92-86, I believe was the final score. And then that was the round of 16.
Yeah.
Another fellow round of 16 game was Georgia versus France. Georgia beat France. Now Georgia and Finland will face off on Wednesday.
France not playing its full roster. No Rudy Gobert, no Victor Wembanyama, but plenty of people there. So it's still probably a better outcome if you're a Finnish fan to face Georgia as opposed to beating France. But yeah, Finland kind of barely made it out of group play. I mean, they were technically third. They weren't fourth, but Sweden got fourth. I think they only had one win.
Yeah.
Maybe they had two wins, but it was a really nice group to land in for Finland. I think if they had landed in some of these other group play areas, they probably wouldn't have advanced to the elimination tournament. They advanced to the elimination tournament, get Serbia, who most people thought was going to be the best team in the tournament, was the favorite to win. You've got the best player and you've got a bunch of talent around them. They got this bronze medal at the Olympics last year. And to eliminate them in the first elimination game was really incredible, and Lauri was the best player on the floor. He was better than Jokic. He had 29 points, as you mentioned. So really cool. It's probably the best win in Finnish basketball history. It's probably the best win of Lauri Markkanen's career. And it's not just like he was there. He's the star of the team. He's been one of the best players so far in EuroBasket. And it's a huge deal. It's a huge deal for him. And I would imagine with how crappy it's been to be the best player on the Utah Jazz for the last 2 years. That's not a fun task. It's probably nice to show, hey, I can still actually help a team win games.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the other two Jazz men, Jusuf Nurkic and Gabriel Procida, were both already eliminated. So it is just Lauri for Utah Jazz fans wanting to tune into EuroBasket.
Yeah, everyone made it to group play, which was a good sign. Bosnia and Herzegovina made it to group play. And then Nurkic was good against Poland. 20 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks. Like, he's playing really well. But Poland is not like a traditionally strong basketball team. And to lose to Poland wasn't ideal. And then losing to Slovenia is not a huge deal. Slovenia is a good team. It has a guy named Luka Doncic on it. He's usually a pretty good basketball player. But Procida hardly played. He didn't play in this game. I think he played the last 2 games of group play. He didn't play the first 3 games of group play. So he only played in 2 of the 6 games. He was the one guy on Italy who consistently didn't play. Kind of makes you wonder if he's not going to cut it as an NBA player.
Yeah.
Not to read too much into that. And again, he got a promotion from playing for Alba Berlin, jumping up to go play for Real Madrid this season. We'll see how he plays. He has NBA outs in his contract, but probably not a great sign if his national team was like, we don't know if you're good enough to play in this level, which is, a real step below the Olympics. It's the best European basketball tournament, but it's a real step below kind of, the best of the best. It's certainly a huge step below the NBA.
One thing I want to add about this Markkanen and Finland beating Serbia, add some weight to it. EuroBasket called it basketball's upset of the century. Now you're competing against like Greece beating U.S. in the early 2000s and other games like that.
Puerto Rico beat the U.S. by 19 the year that the U.S. didn't end up winning the gold medal.
Yep.
So, I mean, if you're speaking European basketball, it's honestly probably up there.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, this is one of the great upsets of all time. Like Lauri is the face of what will be a revolution in Finnish basketball. And they have another guy, Mika Miranen, who's coming in. They call him Slim Jesus. He's a super skinny dude. And he's going to be like a top 15 recruit in the country for the class of 2026. So he'll be in the 2027 draft. He'll be like the next good Finnish basketball player, and we'll see how good he actually is. But remember, Lauri's only the second Finnish NBA player ever behind Hanno Metala. But to give you a sense of like how bad Finland is, and this is with all due respect, Miro Little is their starting point guard. The Utes had Miro Little on their roster and told him he was not good enough to be there. Like, he started and then transferred to a lesser school, I believe, which generally means you get run off. So I can't confirm that Utah ran him off, but like, he left the school at Utah, which has been a bad basketball school for a few years now. So he's starting on a Finnish national team against Jokic, the MVP, and they beat them. So yeah, it really is a huge deal. Like, really, really cool moment for Lauri. So it probably made EuroBasket all worth it.
Yeah.
And if they win and they beat Georgia on Wednesday, it will be the furthest Finland has ever gone in this tournament.
Which is awesome.
Which is really cool. They finished in 6th place before, so if they win, they will have a chance to finish in 4th, which would be really cool.
Okay, let's bring it back to the States for a couple of more directly Utah Jazz news pieces. First, since we last recorded, John Tonji officially signed his 2-way deal, which is, over the few weeks before that, had constantly been a point for us like, okay, Oscar Tshiebwe's back. John Tonji remains unsigned, but they finally got it done, which is awesome for him.
I don't know what the holdup was there. I don't know why they were waiting on that. Teams generally have some idea of why they operate the way they do, and I don't have clarity on why that was the case other than what's the urgency, I guess. You know, you own his draft rights unless somebody else showed up as a 2-way player that was really important. I guess you didn't really necessarily need him. But yeah, you sign him as a 2-way player, and he's found a spot. Yeah, I just think he's going to play a lot in the G League. There's so many young guys on the Jazz roster. I don't know how much you're going to see him, especially early in the regular season.
And then last bit of news, an update to a previous situation. Mark Stein reports that Kevin Love still prefers to be bought out by the Utah Jazz.
Not surprising, but you know, I'm sure the Jazz will hold on to him to see if someone wants to trade for him at the last minute and see if there's any roster spots that are open. But again, with training camps opening for some teams 2 weeks from now and the Jazz 3 weeks from now, you're probably kind of getting down to the wire of what you're going to do. But I don't think Danny Ainge historically has ever been afraid of conducting business late, and Austin Ainge probably feels the same way. You know, the Jazz traded Bojan Bogdanovic the day before camp opened for Kelly Olynyk, so they may just be willing to wait and then at the last second buy him out. Again, as we've said, it kind of depends on what the market is for Kevin Love. If another team comes in and says, yeah, we have a veteran minimum contract for you, then Kevin Love says, fine, buy me out. What Kevin Love doesn't want to do is get bought out and then not have a team to play for.
Yeah.
Like, guys want to be in the NBA. You have health insurance. Mm-hmm. You get you get more money every year you're in the NBA for your pension. Like, all of those things matter. So he won't take a buyout if he doesn't have a next landing spot already kind of set up for him.
And I believe you had written about this in your article on Kevin Love probably a few weeks ago now, which was a lot of times these players who are going to get bought out find the team first.
Right.
And then that team will actually potentially pay for some of the buyout from the team he's leaving, right?
Or at least they take it out of the contract. So basically Kevin Love says, okay, I'm owed $5 million, but I've got 3.6 waiting for me. Mm-hmm. So it's only going to cost 1.4 to buy me out, the difference between the $5 million and what the next deal will be. So the team doesn't pay the buyout, but you basically make up the difference.
Gotcha.
So it's kind of like the same thing. But yeah, and that's not surprising. And then I guess the last bit of news for the Jazz roster will be what happens with KJ Martin.
Yes.
Does he make the final roster? We honestly may not know until opening night because he doesn't have a guarantee date until midway through the season. So he's just on a non-guaranteed deal over and over throughout the year, and the Jazz can waive him at any point with no real penalty other than you pay him a game check every time he plays.
One last thing before the break. You mentioned Media Day, but also the Jazz's first preseason game is exactly a month from today in Houston against the Rockets, October 8th.
Coming up. Yeah, really quickly. The season will get here in absolutely no time, and we'll have a little more to talk about, which makes the podcast easier, but certainly makes everyone's life busier.
Yes.
So anyways, good sign for the Jazz. Everything's coming together, and we'll see what it looks like over the next few weeks. All right, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll get to your mailbag. Not a heavy mailbag, so might be a little bit of a quicker show today. Appreciate everyone tuning in. Stick around. More Jazz Notes coming up next. Welcome back to the Jazz Notes podcast. Ben Anderson, Chandler Holt. All right, we always like to do the second half of the show as a mailbag. You can find us on Twitter or Blue Sky at Ben's Hoops and C Holt Sports. And we'll quickly knock this out for you. Of course, read us at KSLSports.com. Dan, USU the Right Blue, in our DMs. My DMs are also always open. If you want to send a question in early, you can. Dan asks, if there was a Utah Jazz representative to be a celebrity guest picker for an ESPN College Game Day in Utah, who would be the pick and why? I guess it depends on the team.
Yes.
If BYU were doing it, I think Ryan Smith is probably the logical choice.
Yes, I agree.
Unless you want to do Mike Smith, but with all due respect to Jazz studio analyst Mike Smith, Ryan Smith is a much bigger name and owns the Mammoth and owns the Jazz and is a huge BYU fan, as is Mike Smith. But I think that would make sense. If it was Utah, it has been John Stockton in the past.
Yes. He did it in 2015, I believe.
And John Stockton does love the microphone suddenly and talking about vaccines or the lack thereof. That's become his thing now, which is such a strange turn from a guy who absolutely hated doing any media when he was a player. But, this is one of the issues with the Jazz. I do have a couple of names, and I've talked about this a little bit. The Jazz just have a terrible set of ambassadors, unfortunately, because I actually think some of the guys are really cool, and there are cool players around, including some that I will mention. But, John Stockton's not really a guy that you're welcoming in as an ambassador. Karl Malone certainly is not. Pete Maravich also went nuts and then died. You know, they've got some not great history of people. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, nobody else in the 90s other than Jeff Hornacek is moving the needle, and I don't think Jeff is moving the needle that much. It's you don't want Brian Russell. He's the guy who got they made the shot over him. He's the bad guy.
Udo or something.
Yeah, right. So the obvious names for me are Carlos Boozer and Darren Williams.
Yes.
And they are in the zeitgeist again because we didn't mention this. They got inducted into the Hall of Fame with the Redeem team, which doesn't really count, but you're in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
You got to go to the awards. You probably get a little trophy. You get the jacket. You're in the Hall of Fame. And those are two really good players. And those are two of the top 10 players, certainly in Jazz history. So those are maybe two that I think have some name value, especially Boozer. Boozer's doing his King of the Court dating show right now.
I was going to say, assuming this is a Utes game, I would say Carlos Boozer would probably be the guy because he's in the Jazz organization.
Yep.
He was an all-star. Like you said, made it into the Hall of Fame, has the dating show, but then also he has his son coming up. So it's just there's a lot of stuff around Boozer that makes him newsworthy. I feel like he would be the Utes guy. For BYU, I don't think there's really Jazz connections. I don't see Danny Ainge doing it. I mean, maybe.
Yeah, maybe Danny.
Maybe Danny.
That's a good pick.
Yeah. But I bet you would see maybe some locals in the NFL guys, Fred Warner, Kyle Van Noy, Puka Nacua.
Yeah. You know what? I mean, you probably could do it, but AJ DeBonce is going to be the biggest celebrity. And Ace Bailey's probably the other name. Yes. In all honesty, Ace or AJ DeBonce are going to be the biggest names, but I know AJ right now doesn't have anything to do with the Utah Jazz, and certainly a lot of people hope that changes and he becomes a face. Yeah. But right now, that's Danny, Boozer, Ace Bailey. Yeah. Well, you know what? Lauri's becoming a bit of a national star.
Yeah.
Lauri doesn't know anything about college football, and he would pick Arizona.
Yeah.
Even though he's not my understanding, he's not a diehard Arizona guy. He watches, it's funny in the college basketball season, you'll go in and guys will pull their phones out and catch the end of their games. And Lauri does with Arizona as well. But some guys, it's Isaiah Collier, USC. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Really. And I wasn't totally sure that's how the read I got from Lauri on Arizona. All right. I think that's the only question from Dan that we're going to answer.
Okay. Any on Blue Sky or just straight to X?
Let me see if anyone's updated late. I don't think so. Let's go straight to X.
All right. First question from Richard Child. What is your preferred starting lineup to begin the year, and what will the actual starting lineup be? So me and you have already predicted what we think the starting lineup will be. I believe we said Keontae, Ace, Lauri, Kyle Filipowski, Walker Kessler.
Yeah.
That's what we predicted it would be.
Yeah.
And things can change as we get through preseason.
Yeah, maybe George Niang wins a starting job.
Yeah.
Maybe he's just a veteran. You say, hey,
Absolutely.
Makes everyone's life easier. You're not putting so much on so many young guys to play.
Yeah. But I think I already know what your answer to this is going to be. Based off that starting lineup, is there anything you would change to move closer to maybe a preferred starting lineup?
Yeah, I just think eventually, I still think it's going to be Walt Clayton.
Yeah.
And I've gone back and I actually listened to our podcast recap of the draft just to be I will just admit, you just kind of get away from some of that and how much you're watching these guys and even getting away from Summer League a little bit and just kind of the excitement of what they did and don't do. And you kind of just reset all your expectations going into media day. And I think that's the right thing to do. Just start with a clean slate. But man, just Walt Clayton's he's just a better shooter than Keontae and Isaiah. He's probably not quite the playmaker Isaiah is. He might not even be the playmaker that Keontae is, but just like some of the stuff of being able to run a pick and roll and open up life for Lauri Markkanen and open up life for Walker specifically in the pick and roll. Like that type of stuff is really, really beneficial. So I actually think you should start Keontae.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I would go.
Yeah.
And then I would probably do it just the rest of the way. What I'm more interested in, I guess, is the priority of what you're trying to figure out.
Yes.
And the reason you start Keontae is because I do think you're trying to figure out, is he like a star or is he just a six-man? And I don't want to say just a six-man, but again, we have talked about it a lot this summer. The value of kind of these high-scoring two guards is at an all-time low in the NBA.
Yeah.
You know, you look at Cam Thomas in Brooklyn, like last week, he had to take a qualifying offer. He averages 25 points a game, right? And took the qualifying offer. And it's because we don't know if that archetype in the NBA actually helps you win anymore. Just scoring a bunch of points. He averaged 24 points a game last year.
Crazy.
And like not on horrendous efficiency. It's not great. It was 44% from the floor and 35% from three. But like, okay, so he's the ultimate rich man's Keontae George, right? That's 8 points more than Keontae averaged or 6 points more than Keontae averaged on better percentages. And took a $6 million qualifying offer because the Brooklyn's like, we don't know if we can win with you. The Nets are going to be the worst team in the NBA this season, you know. Michael Porter Jr. has gone there and just gone totally off the rails. Like he's just an unhinged person.
Yeah.
Really credit Nikola Jokic for kind of keeping him under wraps because he's going to get suspended games this season because he's being such a strange person. But, you know, I just don't know what value that has. And I think that's what the Jazz are trying to figure out with Keontae. Like, you either have to be a star or you're just kind of a guy.
Yeah.
You're just kind of whatever. Like, you're replaceable. Anthony Simons is available to be traded for. You can sign Cam Thomas next year for probably $14 million and have him come in and replace Keontae. Like, it's just not that valuable unless they do X, Y, and Z. So that's why I would start him to see if he can do that X, Y, and Z, which is become a good playmaker, be passable on defense, become a real offensive engine. And if he can't, then you just move to Walt Clayton.
I do agree with you. I think that they will start with Keontae, and I think that starting with Keontae is the right thing because you have to figure out if he's Jamal Murray or Jamal Crawford. And that's a pretty big difference. Both
Huge
of them
difference.
are like very talented, but you know,
One of them helps you win a title.
Yes, exactly.
And one of them's Jamal Crawford.
Yeah. Shout out Jamal Crawford, Seattle native. But the one thing that I would say moving to preferred for me would be, and again, I think if it is Flip, it would be the right decision, especially with health considered. But I would like to see Taylor Hendricks as the starting four for the Jazz.
At some point.
Yes.
I think so too, unless Flip just takes the ball and runs with it.
True.
And Flip might just be really good.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Flip has a real chance to be a core piece for the Jazz going forward. And I've said, kind of hedged my bets consistently saying, like, maybe it's just as a six-man. Maybe he's your, you know, Naz Reid type guy coming off the bench. But at the same time, I don't know. Maybe he's just really good.
Yeah.
Maybe he's just a really good starting power forward in the NBA, and that's his role going forward.
Yeah. But the thing that's tough is you can't start Ace, Lauri, Flip, and Taylor.
No.
Right?
No.
So, and I just think that Taylor is like, again, we haven't seen him. Who knows how he bounced back from his injury.
I don't know if you can actually start 3 or 4 of those guys long term, is the truth. I don't think Lowry's a natural 3.
Yeah.
You know why he's playing so well? Like, you go back and watch these games, he's guarding Jokic on a lot of these games. Like, that's not his full-time job. He can't, but he's a big.
Yes.
Lowry's a big. He's not a 3, but I think you just unfortunately have to move him around to get your other young guys on the floor.
Yeah.
And you've got a glut of good players at the forward that are young. Mm-hmm. And it's Kyle Filipowski and it's Taylor Hendricks. You got to play him.
Yeah. But I do think that Taylor, of course, if he continues on his upside, comes back well from his injury, he would be a perfect like 3 and D, can guard inside and outside, just like slide into that 3-4 slot. Yeah,
I'm really curious. You know, Walker's never going to be a shot creator. Mm-hmm. Like he's a great role man. He's a really good center. Walker's really good. Yeah. Walker's like an answer.
Yes.
You're going to have to figure out who's going to score at the 4 and the 3.
True.
And again, if like Lowry's not a long-term piece, I don't know. I kind of have my theories, but then you better have a guy who can create a little bit at the 4. And I don't know if Taylor's going to create at the 4. Now, maybe he can. Maybe he's a guy who steps outside and hits threes. And if you close out too hard, he just puts the ball on the floor and gets to the basket. But like, Flip can pass and shoot and attack the basket and like score 30 in summer league. And I know it's just summer league, but like Flip was really good last year. He scored 30 in an NBA game last year. And he had 30 and 18 against the Blazers or whatever it was, 30 and 15. Like Flip's really a good player. Mm-hmm. And defensively he's toast right now, but he's a really, really good offensive player, and those guys tend to find starting jobs. So if you don't find a really like obvious good starting 3, which maybe that's Ace Bailey. Maybe Ace Bailey ends up being your starting 3 going forward and can really score. then you could probably play Taylor at the 4.
Yeah.
But it probably depends on what you do at 3 long term. And again, as I said, I don't think Lowry's your long term answer at small forward.
And the thing that's tough for me is like looking at the Thunder and the Pacers, for example. I want to say that for both of them, their worst defender was Shea and Tyrese.
Okay.
And it's like even both of them are big, so they're passable defenders.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know if you can get away with having multiple like defensive liabilities or even just average defenders on the floor.
Yeah, I think if I guess I were to say ideal, as far as like what's going to be good going forward, your best defensive point guard, who I think is going to be Walt Clayton.
Mm-hmm.
Your best defensive shooting guard, which I think has a chance to be Ace Bailey.
Yeah.
Your best defensive 3 probably has a chance to be Cody Williams.
Yeah.
Your best defensive 4 is Taylor, and obviously Walker is your 5.
Yeah.
Like actually, if you were to say what's the best case scenario for the Jazz of like guys step up and earn their jobs, I think that's what it is, and I think we've said that actually pretty consistently because I think your 2 and your 3 with Ace and Cody can flip and flop and switch around and defend whoever.
Mm-hmm.
And actually Taylor I think can guard 1 through 5. Not like he's not going to be like locked down on ones guy, but if he gets switched onto a 1, he's not going to be killed.
Yeah.
And then the nice thing is you can do some of those scram switches with guys and get some of the 3, really 2, 3, 4 if Cody ever adds weight and if Ace adds weight, they can guard bigger too.
Oh yeah.
So it makes you more versatile even if Walker ends up on the perimeter. And you look at Walker's like perimeter defensive stats, they're weirdly good.
Yeah. So
that's probably ideal. That those guys develop into something and like you trade Lowry for a huge haul.
Yes.
But anyways, that leads us to our next question.
From James McKinney. If Lowry averages 25 points and 10 rebounds in EuroBasket and also leads his team to the finals, what does that do for his value? Does that carry weight in GM's minds?
Yes. It's just, GMs are just human. They're just, what have you done for me lately?
Yeah.
Oh, you were bad last year. You had 19 points and 35% or 34% from 3. Maybe you're not as good as the all-star guy. And then you go out there and you're like, man, he scored 30 against Jokic or 29. And you start to really buy into it again. So what have you done for me lately absolutely matters. Teams will be reminded of how good Lowry is. And look, last year was Lowry understanding the team was tanking and just didn't play that hard, truthfully. But now he's back and he's going to play a lot and he's going to look good and he's going to be in really good shape coming into the season, assuming he's healthy. Yeah, if you make the finals, it's going to look even better. But like he's already done enough.
Yes.
Like Lowry's back. Lowry's a easy 25, 24 point per game scorer if he gets a lot of shots. He's going to be the top of the attention for every team, but I still think he's going to get a lot of looks. Like last year, John Collins knew what he was doing. He was trying to get his to get a spot somewhere else. And Colin Sexton probably felt the same way, knowing that they were going into contract years, and Lowry had just signed his contract. Like he didn't need to have a contract year. So I think you're going to see Lowry start to play better. And then, if you 25 and 10 right now, he's going to have some value. And we talked about, I think 2 weeks ago, there's probably a real chance he's the best player on the trade market during the season.
Yeah.
And we've talked about kind of the value of waiting for the offseason. It's easier to make big trades with big contracts in the offseason because you can take on more players. But it's also important to be in the catbird seat. And the Jazz might be in the catbird seat with Lowry as far as the best actual player available who I do think moves the needle.
Yes.
So Jazz could probably get a lot for Lowry, I think. And if he continues to play this way and carries that to the NBA, not necessarily 25 and 10, but let's just say the Lowry we saw in 2022, 2023, and 2023, 2024, Jazz can get a lot for him, which is probably young players and draft picks. And I think they would probably do it at this point, considering where they are as a roster and how much is going to be invested into Ace Bailey and some of these young guys.
I don't think that it would be for other GMs like, oh, I'm ready to send young players and 4 first-round picks for Lowry now.
No.
But I think it is, like you said, more of like, okay, maybe Lowry's stats last year were a product of the team and not a product of regression. Because he is balling right now. And I would assume that once he brings that to the NBA, and I have said this for a few weeks now, basically the whole summer, that I think with the changes the Jazz have made, Lowry will be unleashed again, and he will return to his former numbers, if not even maybe exceed them.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't be surprised if Lowry's trade value is as high as ever, also considering the market, like you said.
Yeah, and you look at teams like who's going to be desperate. Again, the nice thing is the teams that should be desperate are probably in the East because the East is so wide open.
Yeah.
So, like, can you get a team like Miami interested again? And they've got some, potential matching salaries with a guy like Andrew Wiggins, but then they get young players that you ideally could get back, whether that's a Nikola Jovic or a Jaime Jaquez or a Pelle Larson or, some of these guys, and then draft picks on top of it. Like, that's when you start to get a little bit interested. It's like, oh, you might find the next, I don't want to say Denny Avdia, he was a good player, but like, again, some of the young names I just mentioned, I don't think you're getting Khalil Ware, nor do you need him because you have Walker. But, yeah, Jaime Hawkins was a really good rookie season. People like Nikola Jovic, 6'10", guard, wing, It's like you probably start to listen to that, especially if it comes with a couple of draft picks.
Yeah.
So, and there's going to be teams that want Lauri, and you're happy to send him to the Eastern Conference.
Yes.
So, that's what I would keep an eye on. And, yeah, his value is going to be certainly higher now than it was, I think, 6 months ago.
This is not something that I told you, but this is a question that I have for you.
Okay.
Looking at the Jazz's schedule, what would you say is a contender for game of the year? And not like, it's going to be a overtime game, but just like matchup wise, like what is a game you're looking forward to on the Jazz schedule?
I think Suns early could be interesting just because I don't know what to make of the Suns.
Yeah.
So when did the Jazz play them? Halloween?
On the 27th and then in Phoenix on Halloween.
27th and 31st?
Yeah, the 27th is a home game versus Phoenix, and then 31st is Halloween in Phoenix.
And that's the Cup game.
Yep.
So I think Phoenix will be interesting. Certainly a game I would keep an eye on. I'm going to have to pull up the Jazz schedule early. Yeah. That was just kind of off the top of my head. I'm just trying to think of who are in the Jazz's conversation. Who's in that group with the Jazz. And there's not many, right? It's like Charlotte, and I don't care about Charlotte, and Washington, I don't care about Washington, and New Brooklyn, I don't care about Brooklyn. So maybe some of those teams, Sacramento, they get Sacramento relatively early as well, right?
Second game of the year.
Yeah,
October 24th.
So if I'm just trying to get a feel for the team, I think it's early there. And then again, that's not fair because how much better is Ace Bailey going to be in month 2 versus month 1?
True.
So, San Antonio.
I was going to mention San Antonio because you have the Rutgers guys, assuming both are healthy. Dylan Harper versus Ace Bailey.
They just get surgery.
Yeah,
on
true.
a finger. So,
and then I don't know. I feel like Wembanyama has quickly risen to one of the most exciting players to watch in the NBA.
But Walker plays him well, and you know what?
Yeah.
The big story was how well Taylor played him when Wemby was here. I think it was the second time Wemby came to Salt Lake City. How well Taylor defended him despite the size gap there. So, man, I'm excited to see Taylor play. I'm really excited to see Ace play. I'm really excited to see Walt Clayton play. And I think if you're a Jazz fan, you're going to see those young guys play a lot. I'm really curious how much Cody plays. I thought Cody had a really good summer league, and I still don't know if that means he's going to get a ton of minutes early in the year. So those are all the things I'm pretty excited about.
So January 22nd is the only time the Spurs will be in Salt Lake City. But then also something that I just noticed, a weird quirk on the schedule. The Jazz play the Mavericks 3 times in 9 days. From January 8th to the 17th.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Had some of those weird knocks. And then, those will, of course, be really interesting games. By that point, I don't think Kyrie's back. That'd be really quick.
That would be quick.
And he's notorious for, I'm going to make sure I'm healthy, which, by the way, is the right move.
Yes.
Yeah, especially at his age, and he needs a contract. I guess did he restructure his contract? I think he did.
Yeah.
Or sign a new deal. But, obviously very curious to see what Cooper looks like.
Yes.
But, if Dallas isn't good, they could shut Cooper down.
True.
Because AD's going to get hurt. And if Kyrie's not playing, just say, hey, I don't know if they own their draft pick this year or not, but they might try and say, hey, let's go get one more. Kind of doubt they own their draft pick, but maybe this is the year that they do.
Maybe
they do have this one, and they've got a chance to go out there and build and add another player to the roster that should be interesting at the very least. I'll be curious if Dallas, not to get off on a tangent, decides to pivot to all Cooper flag and says we got to move AD. We got to move Kyrie, and we're going to start over and try and get some draft picks back.
Yeah.
Because they don't have a lot of draft picks because they traded all of them to build their roster around Luka, and now those guys are gone. So I wonder if they would go out and try and get some of those picks back to build around Cooper.
And I don't know. I'm sure there is history of this working, right? But the most recent example I can think of bridging the timeline of a franchise doing that was the Warriors with Curry, Draymond, Clay trying to bridge to Wiseman, Moody, and Kuminga.
And they failed.
And it failed really bad.
Failed.
Mind you, Cooper Flag is probably going to be a lot better than James Wiseman.
Yeah, I think so.
But I feel like that's an interesting thing to figure out for your team.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, ironically, the last good team to do it was probably Dallas. Yeah. Right? They went from Dirk, and even then, they won one title, and then they were just good, not great for a long time.
Yes.
Spurs did it obviously post him, but then they fell apart, and they haven't been very good since. So, no, it's really hard to do.
Yeah.
It's like the NFL. Patriots lost Tom Brady. They're not going to be good again.
Yeah.
The Colts lost Peyton Manning. They're just not going to be good again until they find that guy. You lose Luka in Dallas, and you try and start over. It's okay, Cooper's about as good a start as you can have, but there's no guarantee he's a superstar.
Yeah.
I love him. I went back and listened to our draft talk, and we were both over the moon about Cooper Flag, and rightfully so. But he's got to live up to the hype. You know, and he probably will, but he may not.
Yeah. And here's Here's the thing, and I'm not by any means saying that the Jazz are closer than Dallas, but it's like the Jazz have a direction, but they also have flexibility.
They
You know
have
what I mean?
so many picks.
Yes.
Yeah, no, the weird thing about Dallas is if it goes poorly with AD and Kyrie, like they got to really hit the restart button, and it's going to get really weird and awkward quickly and get hard to do because you don't have draft picks.
Yeah.
I think they may have their draft pick this year, so like there might be some impetus to be like, be awful.
Yeah.
Just be awful this year. Have your draft pick. Get Cooper's number 2 guy. Doesn't matter. You don't have to get number 1. Great if you do, and you can get Cam or AJ or Darren or whatever. But if you don't, you're still fine. You can have the 6th overall pick and hope he's your second best player because Cooper's your number 1. Otherwise, like, man, you better start winning quick because you're going to get old and bad really quick, and then you're going to have a really good young player on an old, bad team and no real way to improve around him.
And then you're going to be back in a situation where it's like, okay, we had Luka and not much else. Now we have Cooper Flag and not much else.
That's where the Lakers are, too.
Yeah.
The Lakers are doing the same thing with Luka. Again, ironically, is that, LeBron leaves. They're not going to trade him, I don't think. This is probably his last year in L.A., maybe his last year in the NBA overall. You've signed Luka to his contract extension. It's like, then they don't have a whole lot. There's just not a very good roster around them right now, which is constantly kind of the strife of the team. So what's Luka going to be able to do in year 1? And that's when you're excited if you're a Jazz fan because you own the 2027 Lakers pick.
Yeah.
And so they don't want to be – they've either got to be so bad that they have a – whatever it is, 50% chance of getting a top 4 pick, which means you have to finish with one of the 4 or 5 worst records. But the Jazz can tell you what a dangerous game that is to play. You might just be bad for nothing and lose your pick to the Jazz. They probably don't want to do that, but I don't think they're going to be great. So it's interesting situation to come up. Again, I know it's not fun to be a Jazz fan right now. I get it. But like you said, having flexibility right now in today's league is the name of the game. Yeah. And the Jazz have a lot of it. They just need one of these young players to show that they're the guy. And then you have the flexibility around them to get good quickly. Detroit did it. Who else is the team that Houston did it?
Yeah.
Like, you can do it quickly. We'll just see if the Jazz have one of those guys, and that's going to be the key about this season. We'll learn relatively quickly, I think, if Ace or Walt or Kyle Filipowski or Taylor Hendricks comes back and proves they can do it.
Yep.
All right. I think that's all the questions we got. Shorter episode today. How long did we go?
About 33 minutes.
Okay. A little shorter than usual, but hopefully worth your time. We'll be back again. I'm actually gone again next week. I'm sorry. We're packing in some late days off before the season starts, and then we're going to go full bore, maybe even expand the podcast. I don't know what we're going to do. But it'll certainly be every week at the very least still coming up after next week. So I apologize for that. We'll be back with you again in 2 weeks. Stick around. More Jazz notes coming up throughout the rest of the summer.